You know how you get certain situations where, you kind of wonder, man, how the hell do we end up here? And just ultimately realizing the situation is a lot more stupider than what you previously had thought about. That's kind of how I feel about the whole Genshin VA situation, right? Like the whole drama of it, like every part of it that has anything to do with stupidity, I am now just realizing just how stupid that whole thing is and how easily avoidable that junk could have been for like the voice actors and Saga and things and sort of like that. And that's kind of something I wanted to talk about a little bit, right? Not even talk about any type of new news or anything like that when it comes down to it, because pretty much all the news so far has been, X actor says something like this, or somebody else saying something wild, or very small developments of what the hell's going on. It just nothing really interesting, honestly. So that's kind of the main reason I haven't been yapping about it super hard anymore. But at the very same time, just kind of overall looking at the entire subject of it, it's been laughable, really, right? It kind of just has been. And at least when it comes down to what's been going on with the VA situation now, right, is that, or at least I don't know if it's always been the case, but it just seems like a little bit more VAs is starting to come back in some shape and form. Like there's been obviously Vinci's VA that's supposed to come back later in 5.6 or sometime, within whenever the hell that happens. If it's already has happened, then good, but if it hasn't, then we'll see. And this whole event for like Fontaine so far is gonna have basically everybody back outside of Charlotte, so it's not necessarily going to be a bad time. You're going to get a good sense of time when it comes down to just enjoying the characters and everything of the sort, so that's really good. But when it comes down to it though, it seems like slowly but surely, maybe this is just me, but it seems like we're getting people to come back in some shape and form, or maybe they're just trying to fight their way back to get into the game and whatever, which is great, because again, the less muted nonsense we gotta deal with, the better, honestly. And when it comes down to it, it definitely reared its head in two different places when it comes down to this patch, mainly in the whole Albedo's quest, which I know I said I was going to talk about, which has a lot of wild and stuff that happened in it, because of course it did. The fact that freaking Ryan daughter ate Naberius' hearts, or at least fused with it in some shape and form, and now is the ruler of life. Oh yeah, I can see why you need to die. I can see why you might need to get bodied by somebody. Also, how the hell has the Heavenly Principles not woken the hell up? This mother effer is sleepy as shit. First of all, we destroy a whole divine chair in Fontaine. Then we go out their way to, punch the hole in the damn sky. Renova gets cucked over by, Capitano. So there's that. And now the fact that Ryan daughter is just ate a shade and just said, yeah, that's just how it is. I ate the ass of this shade here. What you gonna do about it? And mother effer is still asleep? That's wild to me, right? It's just beyond wild. But I digress. Point is, that quest would have been so much better if obviously the right parties were literally voiced. And most of the quests, I literally just sat my ass there and was just like, you know what? Ain't no voice actor, but I'm gonna just go ahead and just pretend to be everybody. I've done it before in my own damn show and series on this channel, which hopefully will have an episode tomorrow. So when it comes down to it, it is what it is. Or at least I say tomorrow, but at the time of this recording, it's still the day before. So it could be, this video could drop tonight, it could drop tomorrow, I don't know. But when it comes down to it though, it's just like, yeah, might as well voice everything ourselves. Because why not? Because if they're not going to step in and just do what they need to do, literally work the job that's not even struck or anything like that, or holding you back in any shape or form, just might as well do it yourself, And that's what some people have taken the opportunity to just straight up do. Just voice shit themselves and, just have it available just for them. Or just enjoy the quest because they voiced it themselves, instead of just relying on the Japanese dub. I mean, that's literally what I did, and there's a fair amount of people I've seen that also said they did the same thing too, But the crazy thing is, none of that would have to be needed if they would just come back and do their damn job, much less get replaced in some shape or form. The fact that there was no replacements actually in this patch, it's kind of crazy, but it could lay down with two different things. One, this could be just the fact that, again, people are just trying to come back, and they're trying to give them some time for the people that actually wants to come through in some shape or form, because why the hell not? But then it also brings up an interesting I guess topic of discussion of maybe it's just also the fact that there's people with hella lots of lines, and it's kind of hard to replace certain individuals, which is kind of the reason why I was like, oh, Paimon's VA is not going to get replaced so quickly or so soon, I don't think, because that's just way too many lines for somebody, at least at this point in time, and they don't have anybody that could, take over the position as of yet. They probably will find somebody. I highly believe they will replace her at some point in time, but I don't see it right now. Maybe not even in the next patch. Right? Maybe in 6.0 when we get to that point, maybe at that point then, but even then I wouldn't be surprised if I'd actually be more surprised if Hoyo actually goes along with the idea of getting rid of Paimon's VA just because they can, instead of keeping her around. I'd actually be a bit surprised, because that is a lot of work for somebody to come through, voice all that stuff, and then essentially just kind of do what they're gonna do, because that's a lot. That is definitely a lot of work you're asking for a new person to kind of come through and take over. But getting back on topic though, like in the beginning of this whole VA strike situation, literally everybody was on their side. Literally everybody was on their side, having an easy time with this whole thing, just being like, oh, so they just need to get unstruck and get the benefits that they need. This is perfectly fine. This is easy. Obviously we could see who's on the right side here, and that's what a lot of us believed at the time. And then ultimately, as 6 months go by, people got tired of it. I was definitely getting tired of it, and like I said before, the big flash that was like, oh, something is weird here, it's when ZZZ got rid of people like Lycon and I think Soldier 11. So it was kind of like a, whoa, what the hell is this sort of situation, and that was kind of like the first warning shots at me when it came down to it. But then obviously when Kanich got yeeted, that's when people started to really ramp up the questions, like, what the hell's going on here? Like, what's happening? And when you get a situation like that, that just obviously gonna bring up questions no matter what the hell happens. But like I said before, and like as many people has already said too, this whole situation would not have gotten out of hand as wild as it did, and none of the war zone of the battlefield that we have with VAs going left and right and all these other people just jumping in to box them literally wouldn't happen if they just been quiet when Kanich's new VA came through. Literally, if you just stayed quiet for that minute, you'd be fine. And if someone asks questions, you don't have to answer, I guess, so emotionally and vocally. You could just say, hey, this is what it is, it's whatever, and just kind of carry on with the strike as it is. Even if people started to doubt, you'll still have tons of people on your side versus just whatever the hell we end up getting, right? But at the same time, I'm actually really happy that we actually did get the truth out of the situation, or at least come to a conclusion of what is really going on versus what isn't going on, and find out that SAG-AFTRA is basically some type of weird ass cult for voice actors, at least in the weirdest sense possible. Feel like some Scientology type of stuff, and it's just a bit weird. It just really comes off a bit weird about how much people want to push certain companies to go union when it's not necessarily needed in Hoyoverse's case, but they're like insistent that it's going to be a good time, like it's like the second coming of Jesus or something like that. Like, it's going to be the greatest time if it comes back. But the only difference is Jesus coming back would be an actual great difference compared to what SAG-AFTRA is doing with their weird cult practices. At least that's what it feels like at the times. And with the truth being out, definitely showed some very messed up and very sad and honestly pathetic kind of individuals to come out the voice acting space. Which, again, like I said before, if you're an anime fan and you keep on carrying on about what's going on behind the scenes in the anime space, you already know that the industry when it comes to voice acting is terrible. There is a lot of people that goes into the voice acting space that really don't know, I guess, basic human decency to just be a basic decent human being and essentially just be the worst type of person imaginable, right? And what makes it even more shittier is that you even got old ass YouTubers that been around the block for a minute, only for them to come into these situations now to basically be defending the bad people that is, you know, involved in all this. And it's wacky as hell, right? It's definitely wacky as hell. Like, bro, I did not expect Lil Karibo and I can't remember the other guy's name. I think he was doing like TFS or something like that with Dragon Ball Bridge. But I wasn't expecting them to jump into this conversation and then back up the shitty voice actors, at least the ones that were acting very shit. It was just like, come on, like what is happening here? Why the hell are you even here in the first damn place? I thought you were still doing the Yu-Gi-Oh thing, or, you know, still on some other type of project, not doing whatever the hell this is. This is weird, you know? It's just always been something strange and weird, and it feels like, especially on the content creator side, feels like a lot of weird shifty shit has been happening, like this with, you know, Lil Karibo and them kind of coming through with the voice and stuff. You know, the Yo Mama guy, or the person that runs the account, has been on some weird shit too. Like, there's a lot of people that's been acting insanely weird, like more weirder than usual, right? I don't know, maybe that's just me, it just feels that way, right? But obviously not all the voice actors that voice Genshin or ZZZ or whatever is not all bad. You know, there's really good ones that still is just around and not necessarily trying to cause any problems for anybody or anything, because they know what's up, you know? But at the very same time, you do get the shit ones, like Candace's VA again, where she basically just, I guess quit the project, I suppose, when it comes down to it. Okay, that's that then. Paimon's VA, which has been exceedingly been, you know, in the spotlight for a lot of people, shitting on, you know, just in every which way and direction and all that sort of jazz, which I don't think we need to go into that any further, because I think pretty much the entire internet tore her alive when it comes down to just calling shit out constantly, right? Even content creators that usually don't talk about, you know, the ongoing drama and whatever, brought that shit up at some points, and that's kind of crazy to hear, so you know you're cooked. Then you get people like, you know, Kaylee Mills as well too, who voiced Kaching and been on Weird Timing too, and all that type of stuff. Again, there's been a lot of stupidity that's been around the block here, basically doing drive-bys of just shooting you with the stupid juice, right? Or even worse, going out of your way to get shot with the stupid sauce, like it's some digital circus type beat. Hey, little jester, how about you go ahead and toss on that stupid sauce? The last time I was here, they didn't give me that. Don't forget to add the sauce. Like, everybody's here trying to get the stupid burger. Like, that's what this feels like, you know? So definitely, it just a lot of chaos for really no reason, right? Because again, if people were to keep their mouth shut, much less not necessarily bother with trying to, you know, be on some unionizing timing, or, you know, trying to be like, this person's a scab and all that type of stuff and all this other weird shit, I promise you your push would be still having plenty of people behind you instead of against you. That's literally what it is. It sometimes pays really well to just kind of be silent and shutting the hell up. That's just ultimately how it is. I promise you, if literally one of the VAs that were shitty in this entire situation came out and basically, you know, people investigated SAG and the strike and everything, basically looked into it, saw that, you know, what's going on, and then got questioned by the VAs. If the VA basically said, hey, this is just a strike situation or whatever, we want to come back as much as, you know, you do when it comes down to it, and maybe you could blame it on your agent, or, you know, blame it on SAG or something like that when it comes down to it. If you would have did something like that, that would have still been in your favor. You know, lying still, but it would have been in your favor. But ultimately they didn't decide to do that. They just said, yeah, F all that, we're gonna just chuck everything to the wind and basically start playing this shit like it's Balatro. Starting to be out here being like, I don't need this hand. Throw away all your kings, queens, and jacks, and only for you to realize you just got another king, queen, and a jack again, and now you just screwed yourself on the last play. Yes, I've been playing Balatro. I thought that was gonna be a shit game, and somehow it's really fun. I can't even sit here and lie. I understand why it has so many damn awards now. But my real point of, I guess, this whole discussion, one, obviously, is just to yap about it again. But two, it's just that I don't really know what Hoyoverse is going to do. At this point, I'm just as confused as a weasel in the desert, but it's not really the desert. It's the middle of the ocean, and now you're surrounded by sharks. How the hell did we get here? You know? And what the hell is going to happen? You know? There's not really any clear indication of what is going to go down, and I would be more so, at least in Genshin's mind or Hoyoverse's mind, more focused on the Nod Cry stuff to even care about, you know, old region characters and their voices and shit like that, even though they're still going to be relevant as time goes on. So again, maybe they'll do something about this, maybe they won't. Who really knows? You know, Chinese players has also brought in, you know, the issues on our behalf when it comes down to it, so that could be also the case. I don't know. It just is what it is when it comes down to it. Just ultimately, we just kind of sitting here, taking a guess, taking what we can one day at a time of the situation, and just seeing what happens. You know. So ultimately, I don't know what's gonna go down, but this situation again would have literally not been a thing if certain people just shut the hell up and kind of just did what they were supposed to do. In fact, if we're gonna be honest, literally, if they just did not do the refusal to work shit, literally none of this would be going down, and none of this would be hitting on their heads as hard as it did. Just gonna be honest. But that's again all I really want to say for this one. So hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification on your way out. Also follow me on the socials, and if you'd like to do that channel, Kofi Cash App is available as well. And until this, my boy Jay, sign off. Have a blessed day.